Okay. So, in this talk, I will talk about speed, how to fasten your site. My name is Nicola Galgano. My alias is Alicon. I work in real-time application management on bank software environment. So I don't work with Joomla at all, but I like to contribute a little bit in this wonderful community. One of the most important ranking factor nowadays is speed. Google made a lot of documentation about this. If your web page take a lot of time to load, you lose visitors, and consequently you lose clients. There is a song, every second counts. I don't know, maybe R.I.M. is the band, but we have to have much more attention, even at milliseconds, because each millisecond is very important. It's not only a problem about ranking a site. It's a problem that the visitors go out if your page take a lot of time to load. Yes. I try to. I think all of you know these comics sometimes. Yeah, you know. And I try to help Willy Coyote to catch Roadrunner, and I try, and I hope you do the same thing. This talk is focused about data, how to get, read, and write data from the databases. I like SQL because in banking software, the most of SQL is the most part of data assessing is made by SQL. But in this talk, I try to introduce you to NoSQL. That is not only SQL. So we will see. In this slide, I'll try to let you understand how is the situation nowadays about database management system. In the last century, we have only one kind of database, the relational database management system that I hope that all of you know. At the beginning of this century, the market have specialized a split with a specialization. The operational database are still based about relational database. But for data warehousing, where you have to manage a lot of data, we have assisted at a split, sometimes that specialized databases. Quite nowadays, we can, if you look at market, you can assist at another couple of splits. How many of you know of understand something about Hadoop? No one? Hadoop? Hadoop. No. Okay. So, okay. You don't do data warehousing stuff? Okay. In the sector of relational database, we are assisting at the born of NoSQL databases. Maybe much more than you know MongoDB, I hope. Yeah? MongoDB, which kind of database do you know? So maybe it's better to let me communicate a little bit better with you. Oracle, MySQL, DB2, Postgres. It's MySQL. Okay. So NoSQL take another kind of approach. The reason behind the born of NoSQL is performance, speed. And one of the most big reasons behind this is big data. I don't want to talk to you about big data because I know that you know better than me what is big data. We are talking about speed. How many of you know James Nicholas Gray before? Yeah, it was one of the people that was make the specification for structured query language. Maybe around in the 60s, they made a lot of paper, a lot of discussion, and they produced paper. Upon this paper, there is the relational database theory. And quite in the beginning of this century, this is my favorite quote from him. All you know that we store data on disk, correct? But now we have another challenge. We have the opportunity to store data to RAM. So, if you remember, in the past, there was tape to store data. And we have had in the last century the first split, the first step from tape to disk. Nowadays, we need to make another step. We need to make the step from disk to the RAM if you want to gain performance. Okay, you know already something about Redis before this talk? Nothing? Okay, cool. Redis is a remote dictionary server. This word means nothing. Redis is an open source database. It stores data in memory. Please, this is a focus point. Keep this in mind because it's very important. And could be persistable. Do you know RAM when power goes down? The RAM is blank. So take in account this, and Redis have the possibilities to be persistable, but we will see a little bit later. And is a key value advanced data store. We will see this concept each one later. It was created by an Italian guy, so name is Salvatore Sanfilippo. Is an open source project. He's not crazy, this man. If you look at picture, it seemed a little bit crazy, but he's not so crazy. It's written in C language, and there is the GitHub repository. It's an open source project. If you have some knowledge, if you want to improve something, you can go at that GitHub repositories, and you can participate in development because it's an open source project. What is the philosophy? Why the need of this kind of database? There are a lot of databases. Why we need another one? The philosophy behind the bottom of this database is that we need to do something that is very simple to understand and very simple to use. And this is the main philosophy that there is behind Redis. But before to start, we need to introduce some little concept. How much of you are familiar with big O notation? Okay. So, big O notation, we are talking about speed, so we need a way to meter speed. The big O notation help you to see the performance of an algorithm, the performance of a task. And it describes the worst scenarios. Later we will do some example so all you can understand what I'm trying to talk you. How much of you are familiar with array sorting algorithms? Maybe, okay. When you have to reach some requirements, maybe about performance, one of the best things you can do when you are in project time is to have how much time this task takes. And if you can have this kind of prediction before the code, is very important, because you know exactly which part of code takes longs and which part of code need to be optimized for. So the big notation helps you to understand what kind of algorithm, how much it takes to perform. I show a silly example of some kind of sorting algorithm. Obviously, the green badge is the best performance, and the red is the worst performance. It's quite simple. It's something some math function, but I'll try to explain a little bit better in the next slide. I have a question for you. We are familiar with PHP, I hope. So, it's a simple function. I have corrected yesterday because I'm not a coder. There was some bugs, but now it's okay. So, if you have to tell someone how much time it takes this algorithm, this function to perform. If I have an array of 10 elements, and I'm looking for if element A is present in the array, I have to iterate through the array. So, the big notation in this case tell us that the worst scenario is that you have to iterate through all elements of the array. So, in this case, the cost of this performance is O(n). N is the number of the elements of the array. But I think that things that I want you to pay attention. If the element you are looking for is in the first position, your cost is 1. O(1). So the big notation take you, okay, in the worst scenarios, this is the cost of this kind of algorithm of operation of a task. Depending on what kind of function, math function we need to use, we have a cost. We have maybe the linear growth is the O(n), and n to elevated the power of 2 is like a parabolic growth. Why I'm boring you about this concept? Because every command that Redis have this notation. So you can have perfect knowledge about how much this operation take to perform. Sorry if I bored you with this kind of argument. So all of you, I think, is familiar with the table, with the relational databases. So what is a key value store? If you look at this simple table declaration, a key value store is simply a table with two fields. A key field and a value field. And simple with one primary key. This is the main concept about the key value store, not only Redis. You have only a key and a value. If you notice, is a big varchar, 500 megabyte. I want you point attention about this, because in a key value store, in the value you can store everything you want. Binary data, text data, numbers, video, picture, images, whatever you want. If you remember the relational database, you can get a value only by a key. So keep in mind this point, this is important. Redis use to memorize data some kind of data structure. The most simple data structure is strings. For Redis, all values are strings. obviously, you can store in strings whatever you want. JSON, byte, integer, numbers, whatever you want. Let's see how Redis can manage this. I made a, a comparison from relational databases and key value store. We have some simple, the most simple operation are to set and get the data. And Redis have two simple commands to set the data. In this example, I'm assigning at key tag the value hashtag JWC 16. If I want to read this tag, I told you before, you can only access data if you know the key. And simple, I can get tag. There are some other useful operations that Redis let you to use. You can increment a value in a key. You can decrement a value in a key, even with a step. Obviously, you can delete a key. Another cool feature that Redis have is the expiration of a key. So when you store some data in memory, most of the time, this data don't need to live forever, and you can predefine when they have to expire. And this sometimes is a very cool feature that helps you to do some cool stuff. Redis manages this between with some kind of command. You can specify when a key value have to leave. Maybe only specification the key name and the 16, for example. I want that the key k persists for 16 seconds, or I can specify a timestamp. I can query Redis and tell, oh, how much time this key still live, or I can specify that this key have to persist forever. Better. I'm done all. I explain you all. Can go. Silly joke. Who is using Redis? Redis is used by a lot of company. Maybe I will just pick some most famous company. GitHub, Stack Overflow, Twitter. I think a lot of company now use Redis when they have big traffic. But we can use Redis in Joomla, and I try to explain. When is useful to use Redis? When is useful to store data in memory? The most simple use case is caching. Redis is do a very good job for caching. But cache is a big argument. We have a lot of cache level, very a lot. I try to concentrate my effort only to retrieve data from database. So this is my picture for today. Starting from Joomla 3.4.0, Joomla permits you to use Redis like a cache manager. How many of you have already used Redis? No one. Okay. But Redis is not only for caching. Redis is advanced data store. With the simple command set, get, expire, TTL that I've told you before, you can do all stuff for caching. But Redis can do much more than this. Redis is about data structure. you don't have to think about table or relation. You have to think about what kind of data structure I have to manage. And I'll try to illustrate some of this, because Redis manage more than this data structure. Maybe someone of you have known about something like geolocation stuff, but is outside the scope of this session today. I've told you about strings, but if you are a coder, you know dictionary, hashes. Redis are very good to manage this kind of data structure. What is the key point here? Redis tend to let you aggregate data together. You know, in relational database, you tend to disaggregate and you make relationship between entities. In Redis, the concept is reversed. You have to aggregate data. A silly example is maybe a user data. If I have to manage with a string, I have to use a key and a value for each piece of information. If I have to manage with an hash, I can have only a key, and in the value, because imagine like a JSON, I can store data and it is manageable, and I have only one key to access this data. Keeping this in mind, because if I have to get my data back in this way, I have to do 3 extractions to get name, last name, email. In the other way, using hashes, I have only one operation. For speed is important. So, what are the use cases for hashes? Hashes is very useful to use with sessions, with shopping cart, when your data don't need to persist forever. If you use a shopping cart, okay, your data need to leave only for the transaction time when the visitors buy some things. After this period, this data is not necessary. So this is why it's important to use memory, because memory have is very fast to do this job. Maybe one of these days we can do something to allow Joomla to manage Redis even for session handlers. I write a pull request, a proof of concept. If someone want to collaborate, this is the address. In the the red are commands that is usable with hashes. I don't want to bore you too much because it's a little bit technical, but it's quite simple to see. If you are afraid about new stuff, Redis let you to try it without install nothing. Simple visiting this website. It's like maybe something of CLI. You can digit your command, you can improve, you can test, and you can see the response. I made some dirty command just to improve myself. And if you are interested in this stuff, before installing something in your laptop, please go to this site and you can try to improve yourself and see how is easy to manage. This is another interesting data structure that manage lists. In commonly lists are commonly very used in programming languages, and you can push data, you can pop data. And Redis have some kind of commands that help you to manage data in a very fast way. In a list, you can store up to 4 billion of elements. So it's a very data structure, very useful. And the performance cost is ON. So depending on how much big is your list, you have some decrease of performance. What is the use case for list? All of you know social network. All of you know the top news. This kind of stuff is made about list, using a list. And if you store a list in RAM, it's very, very fast. So with the commands I've just briefly enlightened before, you can manage this kind of stuff in a very, very fast way. One other common task that you can perform with the list is queue. Last in, first out, first in, first out. Obviously managed in RAM. This maybe is a more simple data structure, is sets. Just another example, again, with Twitter, you have the follower. You can use this kind of structure to understand which people follow each other. And is quite simple because it's based about algebra set. It's something like relational databases, but done in another way. And this is quite an example of how to use. So with this kind of data structure, we can do what we can do even with the relational databases, but in a little different way, because we have to think first about what kind of data structure suits my needs. A little bit different is sorted set, because they allow you to have a score for each data in the set. And the use case for this is quite simple. Leaderboard, scoreboard, for gaming maybe. It's very useful, this structure. Just to have an example, I picked some data from GitHub, and my key in this case is how much is contributor, and the value is the people who contribute to Joomla. And the score in this case is how many pull requests people do. So if I want to know which are the top 5 contributors, all I have to do is issue that command. And depending on if you have a big sorter set, this command is very quick. And you have the answer in a very milliseconds. Okay. Some recommendation if you want to start to use Redis. Please don't use a very long name for a key. Use a meaningful name, but not too much long. Opposite. Don't use a very short name for a key, because a key is the path for your data. So use a meaningful. Keep in mind that the key size could be 500 megabytes. This is a convention. If you read some paper about Redis, you see that the convention is to use a colon to separate keys. And the most important thing is that in the key you have the relation. You have the schema of your data. So please give him something meaningful. Okay. This is some points that we need to pay attention, because data live in memory. So if you have to manage with Redis very, very big data, please think careful about it, because depending on how much RAM do you have. Obviously, if you need to store data that have to live even when there is a crash, Redis allows you some mechanism to persist data. Obviously, to store data not only RAM but in disk. Redis is made by something like less than 200 commands. It's single-threaded. This is another important point, and can have replication, and is supported that by a lot of languages, even PHP. If you are interested in this matter, I tell you to read this book because it's free. It talks about, is written in Python, but I think I don't know Python, but I've read this book. It is quite very, very easy to understand. So if you are interested, you can have a look at this. Okay, if you have any questions, I'm available. Yeah. Yeah.
So if I put the data in a static value PHP, how it works and how it works in Redis.
You have to have a if you have to have some kind of comparison, you have to Redis is a data manager, so you have to compare with MySQL maybe. How I can perform an order of data from a table or from Redis?
Actually, for put data in Redis, I need to do something operation.
Yeah. It's like if you want to put data in a table, you have to perform some insert, no? In Redis, you have to perform some set operation. It's the same thing. But in MySQL, you have to put data in MySQL that is stored in disk. So the time is important in this kind of. If you use Redis.
Okay, I understood. In other case, we can use MySQL memory type.
Yeah.
It's also store that data in the memory.
Yes.
It's also very fast, and we have a limit in our memory in the server.
Yeah.
We cannot use it.
Yeah. Yes. This is a limit even for Redis. Or if you have a big system, you have a big RAM, you can manage a lot of data. But this, yes. But the same thing is about disk. You don't have infinite disk. In some kind, you have to make some kind of duplication. You have some clouds to store big data. So it's maybe the same concept. Depending on which kind of application you have to develop, is most useful to use RAM. But to use RAM much more of the time, you don't have the need to store a lot of data. You need only to put outside data that you need to perform fast. Top news, something like this. You have to specify when is convenient to use a key value store or not. It's not a job. It's not useful for all. You have to see exactly what is your need, what data you want to go out fast, and you have to concentrate your attention about this, because in my opinion, you have to use a lot of type of databases, even MySQL together with Redis. I don't see only an application made only about Redis. It's useful to a specific task.
Yeah, my question is like a scope of websites you would Redis for? Like, should it only be used for high volume sites or my grandmother's website?
I think you can use for every scope. The best fit for Redis is the speed. How you don't how do sorry is how to to output data in a very fast way. So if you have maybe imagine a newspaper, no, and that they have breaking news, yeah, and you have to retrieve from an ocean of data, but you want that the breaking news are came up very quickly. This is a cool use case. Yeah.
There's quite a bit of data there for the forum.
Yeah.
Like I have hundreds of users there all the time.
Yeah.
So would it be worth installing Redis or maybe just add 1 gig of memory extra?
Yes, but no, you can use, but you have to tailor your needs. What 1 gigabyte of data, I think is quite a big number, because you. In my opinion, you have to use Redis with a relational database.
To be more specific from my side, I have 2 gigabytes of memory.
Mm-hmm.
Just below that level, so now it's 4. What I want to say. So instead of adding more memory, maybe I can just install Redis, and that's what I say. Out of the 2 gigabytes of memory that's used, 60% of the memory is used by database queries.
Mm-hmm.
So if I would install Redis there, the number of database queries should go down, right?
Yes, because you can cache data.
Yeah, because now
Using Redis, you can cache data, and so you don't need to access disk to retrieve data. So you have a big improvement about performance for this.
I installed this extension called JWC, JWC.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's not as efficient as Redis.
I think Redis for caching is quite efficient, like memcached, memcached.
Yeah, but JWC is just a Joomla extension.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I don't know what kind of use for store data JWC. I don't know. So you have the answer, because you have to access to the disk. If you use Redis like a cache, you access to the RAM. So it's a completely another picture. Questions? Okay, thank you very much.